friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 90. I can't believe we're only 10 episodes away from celebrating our 100th episode. Thank you so much for being a part of this podcast by listening and being part of the community. If you haven't already, I invite you to subscribe to the show wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. That way, new episodes will be ready and waiting for you, and it also helps other people find the show as well. I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest, Angie Weiss. Angie and I recently met at the Texas Dance Educators Association convention, where we were both participating this year as exhibitors. Angie is a dancer and dance educator with a background both in the studio world and also in drill team. She was a member of the Kilgore College Rangerettes on the 68th line, graduated with her degree in dance from Texas A&M University, and also graduated with a degree in Nutritional Sciences from Texas A&M. In our conversation today, Angie shares her journey with dance and teaching, as well as her passion for nutrition and dietetics. Angie has recently combined her love of dance and her love of nutrition by co-founding a new business called Heal Nutrition and Wellness. She provides workshops and customized nutrition education for dancers and recreational athletes. We chat today about some practical steps that each of us can take to move towards more health and wellness in our lives. Thanks so much again for listening today, and enjoy my conversation with Angie Weiss. Well, I'm super excited to be here with Angie Weiss today. Angie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This is my very first podcast, so I'm so excited.
Yes, I'm so grateful to have you here. And it's pretty fun, our origin story, I guess, where we met, which was at TDEA this year as exhibitors in the exhibit hall. And it was fun walking in, and you were like at the first booth on the aisle that I was in. And we just kind of connected right away, like, hi, are you new here? Yes, me too.
There were so many new exhibits this year. I was surprised. In my brain, everyone else was an experienced veteran and had the booth life down, and I was going to be this brand new person who didn't know what was going on. But there were so many people that were brand new, and that was really refreshing. Was that I wasn't the only one.
For sure.
I think that is why we connected because
Exactly.
we were both, trying it for the first time. So that was great.
Yes, for sure. That was super fun and also tiring, but it was great.
Oh, I really loved it. I think we had, honestly, like, you never know. Some people, have the prime location that they enjoy, but I feel like we lucked into a really great spot. There was a lot of nice people, a lot of really good businesses around us.
Right.
And I really liked our aisle, our hall, if you will. It was really fun. So.
I agree. I know it was a great aisle to be in. And I was like, oh, I'm across from these people. That's great. So super fun. Well, I'm so glad to get to chat with you today. And I heard a little bit about what you're doing when we were chatting at TDEA, but we're kind of like running in between things. So it'll be nice to just hear more of your story and get to hear about your new business, which is super exciting. So do you want to just introduce yourself to our listeners and, share like a brief overview, and then we'll kind of get into more of your story?
Sure. So my name is Angie Weiss, and I am a dancer, grew up dancing my whole life, and I'm also a licensed registered dietitian nutritionist. So those are my two passions. I love to teach dancers. I love to choreograph, educate, instruct dancers. And I also love nutrition and helping people fuel their body for success. And in this chapter in my life, I'm really excited because I'm trying to bridge the two together, which is just the most exciting thing, and scary, and all of the emotions. So I just feel very excited to start this chapter.
Yeah, so cool. And I can't wait to get into more about your business and kind of how you got into it. But first, you want to just take us back to where your dance journey started. So when did you first discover your love for dance and get into dance?
So I took my first dance class at the age of 3. I was actually born in Texas, which some of my Texas friends don't know. So I was born in Texas in Carrollton, and at the age of 3, I was put into a dance class. And my mom told me that my dance teacher was a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, which I did not know. At the time, I'm sure I had no idea, but I loved it. And then my dad worked for Bluebell Ice Cream, and that took us up to Kansas. So at the age of
Ah,
4.5, I moved to Kansas with my family. And I grew up from, kindergarten through senior year in high school in Kansas. And then I came back to Texas for college. And so, I claim Kansas and I claim Texas
right.
now.
That's awesome.
But my dance journey started at the age of 3. But then when we moved to Kansas, I obviously was taken out of dance because our family moved and we transitioned. And, being new to Kansas, we didn't really start a whole lot of activities right away. And
Hmm.
comedically, this is very funny, but I was watching, I guess, a movie in the living room of our house, and it was Alvin and the Chipmunks, I think.
Uh-huh.
And all of the girl chipmunks were dancing, and I ran into my mom in the kitchen, and I'm, 4.5, and I said, "Mom, I want to dance again." And I think that sparked my memory of being in dance class in
Yeah.
Carrollton and loving it. And I said, "Mom, you have to sign me up. I want to be in dance
Oh,
class." And
that's so
so she
cute.
she asked a neighborhood friend, where they took class, and then I started taking class again, and the rest is history. So
Oh.
I love dance, and I love taking class, and tried a whole bunch of styles growing up. Did a lot of sports as well in elementary school. We tried a little bit of everything, but dance is the thing that stuck for me. So
Gotcha. Yes.
took multiple styles, about one class a year until junior high. And then I made drill team. And 7th grade through 9th grade, I was in drill team in junior high. And then 10th grade through 12th grade, I was in high school drill team, and I was an officer my senior year. And then I tried out for the Kilgore College Rangerettes, and I was a Rangerette from 2007 to 2009 on the 68th line.
So
And then I
cool.
and got a degree in dance, and yes, so love dancing.
Yes, for sure. That's so great. Do you have a favorite like style when you were growing up that was kind of your main thing?
I think jazz was my favorite growing up. I love jazz, contemporary. I love technique class. I'm a kid
Yeah.
who loves technique class
Nice.
and, took, of course, pretty much every style offered, but I think those are my favorites. Hip hop. I love
Very
hip
cool.
hop too. Hip
Oh,
hop's fun.
nice. Yeah, super cool. So you ended up being a Kilgore College Rangerette, which sounds so fun. I've definitely heard so much about it just because it's pretty historic here in Texas. I believe it's the first college drill team in Texas, I want to say. Is that right? You
Yes.
probably know more of the history than I do.
Yes. So the Kilgore College Rangerettes were founded in 1940 by a woman named Gussie Nell Davis,
Yes.
yes, she was the first drill team. She created it. B.E.
Hmm.
Masters was the president or the dean of Kilgore College at the time, and he called her into his office and said that he wanted to start something that kept their football fans in their seats during halftime. And Miss Gussie Nell Davis was running a drum and bugle corps in Greenville. And she said, do you want a drum and bugle corps? And he said, I want you to figure that out. So, of course, the
Huh.
Rockettes were on the stage at the time, but she brought the stage to the football field and helped keep those audience members and football fans in their seats so that they didn't leave the game early or, go in the
Right.
parking lot and drink or do any of that kind of stuff. She wanted them and he wanted them to stay in their seats.
Love that. That's so cool. It's fun, just the history and drill team. And now I feel like drill team slash dance team is such a big thing in Texas and growing up. So that's cool that it was in Kansas as well. I mean, I'm sure probably a lot of states have some version of it. Would you say it was similar in Kansas or kind of a different flow, I guess?
So I think I lucked into where we lived, of course, but it's kind of funny. There was a small, like we did have drill team, but there was a small kind of following that would go down to Kilgore and try out. My drill
Okay.
team director was the captain of the Kilgore College Rangerettes in 1986. And my assistant
Cool.
drill team director was also a Rangerette because the director had introduced her to the organization. And there were 3 Rangerettes from Kansas that went down with my assistant director. There was a girl who was a senior when I was a sophomore in high school, and she also went to Kilgore. And there's,
Okay.
a little following that kind of would go down there. But I found out about it through a friend in 8th grade, and my mom loves to tell the story that I had a bulletin board in my room, and I wrote like, I love Rangerettes on my bulletin board in eighth
Aw.
grade. And I guess I just had that as a goal. People do vision boards at the start of every year.
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I even knew what a vision board was, but it was on my board. So since eighth grade, I had wanted to try out, and I went to their summer camp in my junior year of high school, and really made dance a priority all of high school to try to improve and get better. I kind of feel like I was always an underdog, fighting to try to make it. So making the
Mhm.
team was just the biggest excitement of my days at the age of
Yes.
18.
That's so fun. Yeah, I feel like I can definitely relate to that feeling of like making it and that sort of dream fulfilled moment. Very, very cool. So then you said you got your degree in dance as well, which is super fun. So you wanted to share a little bit about that experience and maybe the differences between kind of the drill team world and then dance degree world.
Oh, very, very different. But it's funny. My goal was Rangerettes. So literally at the age of 20, my brain went, well, now what? I did everything I ever wanted to do in life. And
Yeah.
wow, we have so much more life to live after 20. So
Uh-huh.
some of my friends were going to go to Texas Women's, and we had quite a few Rangerettes go to Texas Women's from my class
Okay.
in Kilgore. So I went to Denton and I finished out my degree at Texas Women's. And you're right, it is a completely different atmosphere. It is a completely different environment. And it's a completely different way of thinking about dance. And I will say it was tough for me to grasp the definition of dance that one of the grad students told one of my classes that I will never forget was that anyone and everyone can be a dancer. And the definition of dance is anything that you declare dance to be is dance. So
Hmm.
if I'm sitting eating a sandwich at lunch and I declare that to be dancing, then that is dancing. And I went home that day and I was so mad because I had worked so hard and I had,
Yeah.
trained and perfected, my technique, and I had been a rangerette, and, I had accomplished so many things that I worked very, very hard for. And then to compare dance to eating a sandwich at lunch, just I was outraged. So, but I will say that, now after all of that, I can see that they opened my mind up a lot to things that I don't think I necessarily considered to be dance. I can see the angle that they were going for, and I do think that it, helped me grow in a lot of ways. But at that time, I was very angry to hear all of those things.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting, kind of, especially kind of the modern, postmodern dance world. And I mean, I love modern dance and have my degree in dance as well, and super fun. But yeah, there is kind of that like, I would always have those conversations with my students too. Like, so, we'd watch a piece where someone comes and walks on stage and sits in a chair for 5 minutes and then walks off stage. It's like,
Yes.
so what do we think about this? But it does definitely bring up some fun conversations, I guess.
And I definitely am someone that believes that dancers are athletes. And I know
Yeah.
that's always a topic for discussion as well. Well, that, dancers are athletes or they're not athletes. The type of dancing that I prefer and enjoy the most is very athletic. So
Right.
I love to think and believe that dancers are athletes.
Yes. Yes. I would ascribe to that as well, for sure. So, I mean, it's a very physical, intense, and demanding, especially profession if you like go into it, or even with teaching and that kind of thing. And speaking of, actually, I'm curious to hear, so after college, what has sort of been your journey up until this point?
Yes. So I finished my degree in dance. I got a bachelor's degree in dance from Texas Women's. And then I went on to be an assistant drill team director at Bryan High School. And I did that for 2 years. I was a dance teacher and assistant drill team director. And I was also at the same time, I was in school getting my nutrition degree.
Oh,
So
cool.
I moved to College Station to go to A&M. That was going to be my goal for my nutrition degree. My dad went to A&M, and my dad's whole family's from Brenham, Bluebell, all
Gotcha.
of those
Yes,
things. So
exactly. Which I was going to say before, Bluebell is my favorite for sure. I mean, growing up in Texas is kind of needs to be, I feel like, but it's
I
just
love
so
Bluebell.
good. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I love Bluebell. We could talk about our favorite flavors all day long.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Yes. So fun.
But yeah, so I was an assistant drill team director and dance teacher for 2 years. And I was also going to school for my degree in nutrition. And after those 2 years, I realized it was going to take me forever to graduate if I didn't, put a little more of my focus on the degree. So I left
Mm.
teaching after 2 years and I finished my nutrition degree in 2016. And I was working at a dance studio in College Station to fill that void of dance. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed teaching classes at the studio. I grew up in studios, so that was really exciting to be able to do. And then
Hmm.
after that, after I got my bachelor's in nutrition, I went to Wichita Falls for my internship and I completed a nutrition internship there. And I also taught at a dance studio in Wichita Falls and I loved it. And then I took my exam and it's kind of like, with nursing or with doctors and things like that, you take your
Hmm.
boards. With nutrition, there is a, national test that you take, the CDR exam.
Okay.
And I did take that test and passed it. And so then I became a licensed registered dietitian nutritionist. So there is a lot
Yeah.
of school when you become a dietitian versus a nutritionist.
Okay.
A lot of people think nutritionists are very knowledgeable about nutrition, but you can be a self proclaimed nutritionist, or you can be, a coach that just took a couple of hours of credit to become a nutritionist. Whereas a dietitian is a little more rigorous. You have to have bare minimum a bachelor's degree and then go through an internship and pass a national exam. So there's a lot more knowledge and studying and research and rigor that goes into becoming a dietitian.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, because that is really impressive,
Thank
especially
you.
given you had already just come from, completing a degree. And then what was it that made you want to go back and get a second degree?
So I've always really enjoyed both dance and nutrition. I honestly, my interest in nutrition stemmed from dance, I want to say. So,
Cool.
we all have our own stories about food and our relationships with food, but I think a lot of my interest in food stemmed from my dancing and from the friends I made and the dance experiences that I had. And I, really started to develop a passion for learning more and more about food. And I didn't want to, there's so much knowledge in Googling things. I wanted to make sure that I was getting, the correct education and understanding food, more on a scientific level. So
Hmm.
I thought it was important to go to school and really study it properly, I guess.
Right, right. That makes sense for sure. Speaking from my own experience as well, there's definitely an interesting dynamic, I think, with dancers and food, and, tends to be stereotyped as well as a struggle. And I think it's maybe improved over the last decade or so, but I think there still are a lot of challenges, I guess, the dancers face because our bodies are our instrument. And so we're trying to, fuel them properly, hopefully is the goal. But sometimes it becomes more of an aesthetic, drive for people when they're thinking about nutrition. So I'm just curious, maybe what were some of the pain points that you saw growing up as a dancer and then also teaching that maybe helped feed that passion that you have for nutrition?
Yeah, so a very personal story that's near and dear to my heart and kind of stemmed me into nutrition. I had a really good friend. She was my best friend in middle school. We were both on a drill team together, and she really sparked my interest in dance, rangerettes, and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
she had an eating disorder, and it very much influenced my own personal life. And
Yeah.
our outcomes were very different. I moved on to dance and be able to do a lot of the dreams that we had kind of talked about together. And she really struggled with hers. And she actually ended up in a hospital on a feeding tube right
Mm.
about the same time that I was a rangerette. So that was
Wow.
a very eye opening experience to kind of live through and see that, choices matter and it's important to surround yourself with the right people. It's important to fuel your body with the right foods you need to succeed and
Mm-hmm.
what you eat and what you put into your body really matters. So there's a lot of dancers, that on both ends of the spectrum, there's a lot of dancers who don't put food into their bodies because they think that's going to be the best way to become the best dancer that they can be. And then there's also on the other extreme, there's a lot of people who put a lot of junk into their bodies and just kind of quickly eat a lot of snacks because they don't feel that they have time or they don't dedicate enough energy to really balancing their meals. So they
Mm-hmm.
put a lot of unhealthy things into their body and make some poor choices in that way. So there are two extremes, I feel,
Yeah.
in not eating enough or eating too much or eating too much of the wrong things that don't help us succeed in dance.
Right.
So really educating dancers about why we eat, why it's important to eat, why it's important to put fuel into our bodies, but not just any type of fuel that's going to help us nutritionally dense fuel that helps our body do what it needs to do
Mm-hmm.
on and off the field, the football field, on and off the stage, in and out of dance classes every single day.
Right. Yeah, that's so good. And I'm curious how learning about this and diving into it, how did that impact you personally as a dancer?
Oh, wow. So I think I've, as anyone, I've made a lot of poor health decisions of what I put into my body, the food that I put into my body.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also learned along the way of how to try to correct those bad habits and put healthy food into my body. So something about me, I am a vegetarian. And of course, when I talk to anybody about nutrition, you don't have to do everything that I do,
Right.
but I'm an ovo-lacto vegetarian and I prefer to, I'll eat eggs and I'll have dairy products, but that's just a preference for me. I don't like to harm animals, but of course, protein comes from animals. We've got a lot of good sources of protein from animals, but personally, that was something that I chose to kind of help me make choices and try to be healthier. So I've tried, and of course in college they had us try some fad diets and things like that because they told us, well, how will you know what it's like to experience these fad diets if you don't try them yourself? So one of the classes I took in college, everyone had to do a different diet for 3 days, and that was so eye-opening to me. I was placed in the DASH diet, but other people were put on a liquid diet or the keto diet or
Wow.
lots of different diets. And then we all had to do a presentation about our experience, just to kind of gain some insight and knowledge into, some of the worlds of diet trends and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting to hear everyone's perspective and their take on it.
Yeah, for sure. That would be fascinating because there's so much out there. And I know it can be almost overwhelming, just the amount of, like you said, there's so much on Google, there's so much information that comes at us. But, are there any maybe broad tips that you think are just really good keys to pursuing wellness and health in our lives?
Yes. So I have a couple that I wrote down because I wanted to make sure I got all of these in.
Yeah.
So I love talking about balance. So balancing meals and snacks, right? There's 5 food groups. There's protein, there's dairy, there's fruits, vegetables, and grains.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about balance. Trying to get all 5 of those in every day is important. I know a lot of people, so I attend a church where they were talking about fasting at the beginning of your year and trying to detox from some bad habits, and a lot of the girls in my Bible study were saying, "Oh, I'm going to do the fast. I just won't eat breakfast." And I was, I had to chime in and I said, as your dietitian, I said, y'all, you have to eat breakfast. If you're going to fast and eliminate a meal, eliminate late night snacks and late night eating because you're just going to be sleeping when all of that food is trying to digest in your body. Breakfast is so important. So one of my tips is to eat breakfast.
Yeah.
Breakfast you don't have to open your eyes and put some food in your mouth. Breakfast is considered within the first 2 hours of your day. So if you're someone who needs to wake up a little bit first before you eat, or if you're someone who likes to eat right away, as long as it's within the first 2 hours of waking up, eating breakfast is so important. It's called breakfast because it breaks the fast and it helps you start your metabolism for the day and give you fuel for your day.
Mm-hmm.
So eating breakfast is one of the things that I really try to do. And I try to harp on to everybody that it's so important to fuel your body right away when you wake up to begin your metabolism and start your day strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then a couple of other things, like I said, avoiding eating late at night, avoiding all those snacks at, midnight and things like that, because you're just about to go to sleep and it's not really going to fuel your body, for the next few hours.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking mostly water is a tip I'd like to give dancers. Mostly water. Of course, we can indulge occasionally in a sometimes beverage, but at TDEA, at my exhibit, I had a big demonstration of sugary beverages.
Yeah.
And definitely knowing what is an everyday drink and what is a sometimes drink. Water is our everyday drink. So trying to mostly drink water and then occasionally indulge in, something for fun, but
Hmm.
trying to avoid all of those sugary beverages because they're just, you might feel a lot of energy, but then we're going to crash. And we don't want to have that during a dance class or during a performance, to have that lethargic feeling in the middle of trying to perform. So
Right, exactly.
a couple more things are trying to eat more veggies, vegetables, a variety of color, trying to have, all of the colors of the rainbow
Hmm.
in our diet, and trying to eat, at least half your plate vegetables because they're so good for you.
Yeah.
I also wrote to try to enjoy food. Take some time to enjoy your meal because, growing up with dance and always being on the go, I ate so fast. I never really got a chance to enjoy my food. So now, as an adult, if I have a moment, just sitting there and saying, wow, I really love this meal, and being able to take a couple of bites, assess if I'm actually hungry or if I'm full, and taking time to enjoy food is important.
That's a big one, especially for dancers, I think, or anyone that's got that busy, super busy lifestyle. Cause I remember, I had dance team right after school for a couple hours, and then it would be like driving straight to the studio. And then I had ballet after that. And so it was always, kind of the quick on the go stuff. So it's very real for sure.
Yeah. And then the last one is just planning ahead so that you don't end up eating junk. I know a lot of times if I don't plan ahead, then I'm grabbing something quick and it's not as healthy as I
Yeah.
could have chosen. So
This
just
is the
trying to,
big struggle.
yeah, trying to plan ahead a little bit, and prepare for meals to come. So yeah.
Yes, that's so good. Super helpful tips for everybody to grab hold of. And even if it's one thing that we, maybe just drinking more water and just starting to implement that and trying to trade out some of our other drinks with water. It's amazing the difference that can make in energy over time. For sure. Super cool. So I'm super curious just because I'm in a similar stage as you of starting a new business, kind of how that process is going for you, any like challenges along the way of being a new business owner or highlights, those kind of things.
Yes. So I started a new business called Heal Nutrition and Wellness last year. Heal
Yeah.
stands for Healthy Eating, Active Living. One of my friends and I actually co-own it. And, we had been talking about wanting to do this a while ago, and we reconnected and we said, let's do it. So there's not a lot of overhead when it's virtual or when, you go to people and, give these education lessons. So it's been a journey for sure. We have a website, and, we have our core little paragraph of our mission and our slogan and everything, and we've kind of just been taking small steps along the way to continue to gain clients and traction and educate people in general about nutrition. So it's been fun, it's been scary, it's been overwhelming, it's been like jump for joy, happy and exciting when you get to talk to someone about nutrition. But overall, I think it's a huge passion for me to specifically target dancers because of my own journey and, of course, the journey of one of my friends and
Mhm.
people along the way that I've met. I think it's an area that's not necessarily being targeted because it is such a sensitive subject and it is tough to talk about for some people. But
Mhm.
I think it's something that we need to begin talking about so that we can provide proper resources and tools to eat healthier and fuel our body for success.
Yes. Yes. That's super good. And I think really smart to have people that are specifically, coming from a dance background and know kind of what the culture is like, and being able to speak to that directly is super powerful. So yeah, I'm really grateful that you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, and I grew up with a stay-at-home mom who would cook my meals. So I would get home from school and I had 30 minutes to change and eat and then go to the dance studio. So, great that my mom was able to do that and, provide me food right when I got home from school, but that's not really the case anymore. Everyone has two working parents and everyone's so busy. It's
Mhm.
hard to really put nutrition first. And it's something that we need to really start prioritizing so that we feel better and we dance better.
Right. Exactly.
And like you said about the culture, I mean, we're go, 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 go. Dancers are go, 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 go. So I don't have time. A lot of dancers, well, let's eat healthy, let's balance our meals. I don't have time. I don't have time. So trying to prioritize just that knowledge and planning ahead and I do have a couple of ideas in mind. I'm going to talk to some dancers this summer, but my goal is that I'm going to put together kind of an igloo cooler of, hey, if I was going to dance competition, this is what I would want to pack in my cooler.
Yeah.
And I plan on, when I pack it, I plan on timing it because I think everyone says, I don't have time, I don't have time. So I am going to literally time, from opening the refrigerator to begin the process of preparing everything to packing up the cooler and hitting, stop at the very end to see how long does it truly take to dedicate all of that time and energy into packing for a dance competition or like a big dance day. How long would
Right.
it take me to truly pack and prepare for that? So I want to start normalizing that conversation of I don't have time. Whatever that number is, when I try it, I can't wait to start bringing that number to the forefront and saying, do you have, guesstimating, do you have 30 minutes to spend on your nutrition? And I think everyone does have that time, but just finding it and normalizing the amount of time it'll take.
Hmm.
And then hopefully people will start, allotting, hopefully 30 minutes at least
Right.
to preparing their meals and snacks.
Exactly. It is kind of about that prioritizing, and I think you're right that there's just kind of a mental block of, even myself included, thinking it's so much harder. But then when you actually get into it, it's like, it does take maybe a little more intentionality, but it's very doable.
And again, I haven't done it yet, but my goal is going to be 30 minutes because I think that's doable. And if I can't get it done in 30 minutes, how long did it take me and what are some modifications or tweaks I could do to,
Yeah.
get that done in under 30 minutes? And
Hmm.
I feel like if I can achieve that, anyone can achieve that. So that's going to be my goal in trying to problem solve. How can I get, in 30 minutes, how can I get balanced meals and snacks and all the nutrition I need for a whole day of dance?
That's awesome. I love that so much. So a good number of our listeners are probably either professional dancers, dance educators, or potentially even dance students right now. So, you've already given a lot of really great tips, but I was just curious if there's anything else dancer specific that you wanted to share about fueling our bodies for success, like you say, which I love.
Definitely, like I said, eating breakfast is so important. Even if you don't dance until 5 p.m. because it's after school, breakfast matters. If we don't eat breakfast, it just kind of our metabolism isn't kickstarted and our whole day feels a little bit sluggish.
Hmm.
So I know that's not like, oh, right before dance, if I do this, but breakfast matters. It starts your whole day and it fuels you all the way until that 5 p.m. dance class or whatever time you have dance.
Right.
So I really believe that dancers need to eat breakfast, but then also protein can help you stay full for longer. So trying to get a good amount of protein throughout the day into our bodies is going to help us a lot.
Hmm.
Protein is really good for our muscles, rebuilding our muscles, especially when we're, using them and they're breaking down and rebuilding all day long.
Right.
Protein matters. We also need carbohydrates. So I am a dancer and I eat pasta and I eat rice and I eat bread. And a lot of dancers might not know that you can do those things. A lot of people will say, well, I cut out carbs entirely. But actually, dancers, our bodies run on carbohydrates when we're being athletic.
Hmm.
When you're sitting at school, when you're, doing a desk job, when you're doing homework and just not really moving too much, we're burning fats first. When you're dancing and when you're moving around and all those types of things, you're burning carbohydrates. So when you're being athletic, carbohydrates are being burned. Our body, craves and needs those carbohydrates to move, but it's important, carbohydrates can be considered a donut. That would be a simple carbohydrate,
Hmm.
or complex carbohydrates would be, whole grain rice, sweet potatoes, lots of complex carbs, which all break down into sugar. But of course, that donut doesn't necessarily give us a lot of nutrient dense variety for our body to latch onto and use.
Right.
Whereas, those sweet potatoes or the whole grain rice or things like that in a carbohydrate is going to give us a lot more fuel for our body to succeed. Fruits and vegetables are also considered carbohydrates. So
Hmm.
pairing some of those complex carbs like rice or sweet potatoes or things like that, pairing those with, some vegetables, some non-starchy vegetables or some fruit, all of those carbohydrates are things that our bodies need to succeed and also will fuel us while we're dancing because we are burning carbohydrates in
Yeah.
those moments.
Yeah, that's super good. And I'm curious just on like the business side, I guess, what is your favorite part of what you get to do now?
So I've worked with a few people so far. I partnered with an after school program in Austin for an elementary school, and I got to work with pre-K through fourth grade. And we did a lot of visual and kinesthetic nutrition education. And then we also would make some snacks together. And I
Cool.
think my favorite thing in working with all of them was when they would regurgitate information back to me.
Yeah.
It just meant that they were paying attention and that they were taking an interest in nutrition. So I, would talk to some kids and they'd say, "What are we doing today?" And they'd get excited. And I told one of them, "Oh, we're gonna make a fruit parfait today with some yogurt." And the kid regurgitated back to me, "Yogurt is a dairy." And I was like, "Yogurt is in the dairy group." So when they know things and when they tell me things
Uh-huh.
that they learned, it genuinely, my heart gets so excited. So had a student also, I paired with the Bridge Project in Houston, and
Yeah.
we did an event. And one of the little girls that was a dancer did the nutrition class. And when she was waiting for her mom to pick her up, she came over to me and said, "Can we talk more about nutrition? That was my favorite class today."
Aw.
And I got so excited and we sat down and I said, "Yeah, what do you want to talk about?" And, we talked about some of her favorite snacks and things she enjoys eating, but dancers who express interest in nutrition and can regurgitate some of the information that I taught them or some of the stuff that they applied knowledge,
Yeah.
critical thinking about, "Oh, at my house we do this," and kind of was able to use critical thinking skills in those ways. Those are some of my favorite interactions and moments, getting to see that that education is working and that education is going to help them in their future in using, some new tools to think about food.
Right. Yeah. That's super encouraging and exciting to have that experience, I'm sure. Like very rewarding. So fun. Well, thank you so much for sharing your just a little taste, I guess, of no pun intended, but a little taste of what you do. And
That was good. That was good.
yes, I did not plan that. That was fun. And just sharing some of your experience, both as a dancer and in business and everything. What is your vision? I guess your ultimate vision for Heal Nutrition and Wellness?
I feel like my dreams for Heal Nutrition and Wellness on my side of the business would be to be able to go into dance studios, go into drill team organizations, go to dance classes in the schools, go to professional dance teams, anyone really that'll have me. But to go into those buildings and talk to dancers about nutrition, that is my goal, is to share my knowledge that I have gained, through so much school, to share it with as many people as I can to then help them become a better dancer because of the fuel that they're putting into their bodies. So
Hmm.
yeah, a vision that I have, yes, is to just continue to spread that knowledge and hopefully gain enough traction that people start talking and normalizing, discussions about food in a positive way. Because a lot of times
Right.
dancers might be talking negatively about food, saying that they can't eat bread or they can't eat carbs or that they can't eat anything before competition because they don't want to get sick or something like that. But normalizing, those positive conversations in and around food. And it's good to have carbohydrates because we need them as fuel to dance, and
Hmm.
kind of getting rid of some myths and getting rid
Yeah.
of some of those negative connotations.
Right. Yeah. I love looking at, I guess, nutrition and what we eat through that lens of fueling our bodies to be at their optimal ability to perform. So love that, whether that's as a dancer or just in life in general, getting to be more able to do what we want to do in life. So
Correct. And we
yeah.
don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's probably just tweaking a couple of things here and there along the way. But I definitely think that my younger self, what I would have thought would have been the best thing for me on a competition day versus myself now, I would do things a lot differently. And I would think about food a lot differently as a tool to help me in my competitions rather than something that will hinder me in
Right.
my
Right.
dance day.
Yeah.
That if I eat, it won't help me. But that's absolutely a myth. Eating properly and eating, a good balance of food will help carry me to be able to have energy throughout the day and help me in my dance journey. So
Yes, so good, so good. So one thing that I like to ask everyone that comes on the show is there something that you'd like to share with other artists right now?
yeah, I thought about that one for a little while actually. And something I want to share with them is just keep instilling manners and the ability to accept criticism and feedback into dance because in life now, I love working with dancers, even if I don't know that they have been a dancer in the past. And then I find out later, I tend to just really enjoy that community, specifically the dance community, because we have such thick skin and we're able to accept critiques and feedback and use manners. And I just think that in dance, that is something that was really instilled to me growing up, that yes, ma'am, and thank you. And,
Hmm.
being on time and preparing ahead of time. And, when anyone is trying to help me saying thank you and things like that. And
Hmm.
I just don't ever want that to die out in the dance world because it is so rare these days to have that respect and have that discipline and have those manners and instill all of those positive qualities into younger generations of dancers. And I see it and I appreciate it every time I go into a brand new studio or a brand new drill team. When those manners and that etiquette is instilled, I am just so impressed. And I just don't want the dance world to ever lose sight of how important those qualities are in a person.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely extends way beyond the actual dance studio whenever students are taught those things because that can last them their entire life, which is super amazing. And I think even in the arts in general, there is some of that built in with just being able to receive feedback because that's so much of what we need when we're, creating is getting that feedback and then tweaking it. So I think that's a great piece of wisdom and advice or encouragement, I guess. And then the last question is, what is one of your favorite things right now?
So I thought about that too. I put some thought into this one, but honestly, I'm probably like behind on the trend. But sparkling water, wow! I asked my roommate. I genuinely said to my roommate, I said, okay, what is something that I like that I love, like because I couldn't really think of anything. And she said, you love sparkling water. And I said, that's so true.
Yes.
I remember growing up in elementary school, playing soccer recreationally or something. They'd always give you as a treat, that we called it in Kansas, we called it pop, but soda
Uh-huh.
or Coke or Dr. Pepper. We'd always get that as our reward at the end of a game. And feeling that sense of pride as you leave your practice and being able to drink your soda or something like that.
Yeah.
But I just love all of the alternatives in the world right now. And I think, that unsweetened sparkling water with all of the flavors and brands and excitement to try all of these new flavors. It's something I've really kind of gotten into in the last month or two. And it's just such a great alternative to soda and it's a fun treat to have. So that's honestly one of my favorite things right now and I'm glad that we have that as an option as a treat because it's something that isn't necessarily as unhealthy or as loaded with added sugar that we can choose.
Right, right. And I saw my aunt and some cousins had gotten this I don't know what it is exactly, but you can just take regular water and it turns it into sparkling water. I don't know if you've seen this.
I'm gonna
It's
have
like a certain kind of bottle or something. I don't know. There's some
Oh wow.
system that you use and you can add flavors and stuff. I was like, this is so cool. So I'll have
That
to ask them and tell you about
Yeah, that's
it.
so cool. Please share that with me. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Yeah.
So I've had so much fun just getting to hear more about your journey and thank you for sharing with us everything that you're passionate about right now. And I'm excited to
Yeah.
see where things will continue to grow, which is so fun.
Yes.
And I'd love to let people know where they can connect with you as well as with your business, Heal Nutrition and Wellness. So what's the best way to do that?
Yes. So you can email me at Angie Weiss, AngieWeissRDN @gmail.com. That's my email that I will, do my best to answer as soon as possible. If you would like to discuss either one-on-one nutrition consultations, or if you wanted me to come talk to your group or put me in touch with someone, I would absolutely love to talk to your dancers, you yourself, or anyone else in the industry about fueling your body for success and making better choices. to positively benefit your body. And then,
Uh-huh.
yes, also you can go on our website, healnutritionandwellness.com. We have a website there if you'd like to reach out, if you can get in touch with us there. Also, Instagram. I have an
Yay.
Instagram as well, and it's at heal.with.angie.
Heal.with.angie.
Yes.
Awesome. Very cool. Yay. Well, yeah, definitely go check her out and say hello on Instagram. That'd be fun. So yeah, thank you so much, Angie, again. And I'm glad we could make this time to connect. This was so fun.
Yes, thank you.
That was so much fun getting to hang out with Angie, and I hope that our conversation encouraged you today. You can find all the links, the full show notes, and additional resources on our website, creativeimpactpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support, and a special shout out to all of our patrons who are helping make this show possible. If you're interested in supporting the podcast through monthly donations, you can check out creativeimpactpodcast.com/Patreon. That's creativeimpactpodcast.com/PATREON. In our Patreon community, you'll find bonus content from over 30 episodes, as well as some behind the scenes of what goes into making the show. You can also support the show in a super simple, quick way by just rating and reviewing wherever you happen to listen. If you'd be willing to take just like 30 seconds to give us a 5-star rating and write how the show has impacted you, that would be such a blessing. Thank you so much again for listening to the Creative Impact Podcast. The music for the show was produced by Michael Cash. Until next time, remember that you were designed to create. You were made to inspire. Continue living with purpose and making an impact. I'll see you next time, friends.